Hello, everybody. I am Amy Wolkowinski, Chair of the Sustainability Commission, and I'd like to welcome everyone to our April meeting. And to kick things off, I just want to acknowledge all the work and planning that went into Earth Day.
Yeah, good job.
Last weekend, I can't even, I mean, I've been involved in enough events to understand that something on that scale takes a lot of time in advance. And so even though the event was canceled due to one of our best snowstorms of the year.
It was canceled?
Yeah, Earth Day was
I had a
canceled.
cold, so I couldn't go.
It was canceled. So I just want to acknowledge all the work our sustainability staff.
That makes me feel good. I didn't miss it.
I know it was going to be awesome. So.
I thought it was a little hasty of them to cancel it. The next day it was sunny.
Yeah, but I think
It was in a mud bog out there.
That was your father, but we did. You should have been telling us. Okay, he said it's
okay. So I would like to move on to roll call. Amy
Or Nicole can
Wolkowinski.
speak too.
Oh, Nicole, does Nicole have her hand up?
Oh, I did. Good afternoon, commissioners. I'm actually on my way. I was at the city's budget retreat, and I did thank you for that acknowledgement, Commissioner. I just wanted to say, yes, even though it was sunny later in the afternoon, we had some concerns that our risk manager shared with us in terms of our insurance and our liability with weather-related injuries or incidents. For the safety of our exhibitors as well as participants, we had to cancel the event. We also anticipated that there would be quite low turnout with 4 inches of snow on the ground Saturday morning and degrees. So yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate it. And I'll see you all here in just about 90 seconds.
All right. We'll look forward to seeing you. Okay, so roll call. Amy Wolkowinski, Chair. I am here. Commissioner Metzger.
here.
Commissioner Bourne.
Here.
Commissioner Carlson.
Here.
Commissioner Kunkel. Here. Commissioner Lammy.
Here.
And Commissioner Skurlock.
Carlson looks like he got a haircut too. Or maybe more than one.
Vice Chair Metzger.
Yes, ma'am.
How would you feel about doing our land acknowledgement?
I don't have my iPad with me.
Okay.
I would have to have somebody show it.
Okay, well,
I apologize.
is this big enough for you to read?
Yeah, I would love to. Thank you so much. That's so kind.
If not, I'll just do it.
No, I love this. The Sustainability Commission humbly acknowledges the ancestral homelands of this area's indigenous nations and original stewards. These lands, still inhabited by native descendants, border mountains sacred to indigenous peoples. We honor them, their legacies, their traditions, and their continued contributions. We celebrate their past, present, and future generations who will forever know this place as home.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to agenda item number 4, public comment. At this time, any member of the public may address the commission on any subject within their jurisdiction that is not scheduled before the commission on that day. Due to open meeting laws, the commission cannot discuss or act on items presented during this portion of the agenda. To address the commission on an item that is on the agenda, please use the Teams chat function. Type in public comment to indicate that you would like to comment, and you'll be then recognized and staff will unmute you. If you were in person, raise your hand and we'll acknowledge you.
Okay. Dr. Dre, I want to pass these along to everybody.
Thank you.
Pass them
Okay.
down.
Thank you.
So May 2nd, kickoff of Bike Month. It's getting nice. And I was able to get an Art X grant for being able to shut down Aspen Street from LaRue to San Francisco. Very much pushing multimodality as best as possible, encouraging people to take the bus, carpool, ride their bikes, walk, so that they can experience what it's like for a lot of us who don't have vehicles and what we do to get downtown, but also what streets look like when they're people-centric and not car-centric. sustainability being a big portion of that thought process and support of. It would be great to see folks spreading it as far and as wide as they possibly can. And not gonna lie, could have used a sustainability neighborhood grant for doing this, but I guess our deck saw the value in it. So we're hopefully able to pull it off well this year so that next year, hopefully following years and following months, we can have more opportunities to take streets back for what people used to do on streets, which was talk and meet and exchange goods and exchange ideas instead of worrying about where they're parking and worrying about letting their kids cross the street with unnecessary traffic, I would say, on that block that is going to be shut down. So everyone's invited. Please, if you can, try to use the ethos of said event and take a bus, take a ride share, carpool with your friends. Strategically use what you can, because I don't know, a big argument within regards to these kind of events is, well, where am I going to park? Well, at 5 o'clock every day from Monday through Sunday, that lot is open at 5 o'clock for free. You don't have to pay for it. And there's 90 parking spaces that probably get maybe a third filled out on First Fridays. We'll see. I'm, gonna come tomorrow and make a count and say, hey, it's a Friday at 5. Let's see what kind of parking is available in downtown Flagstaff that still allows for easy access to a pedestrian-friendly and a pedestrian-forward event. So please, please, please share as much as you can. Please discuss as you can. I know you're going to be talking about how you select the neighborhood sustainability grants. Out of the 100, there's 10 that have been about transportation, and I've applied for 2 of those and gotten denied. So what can the city do to add a little funding for some of these ideas that bring people together instead of when are we going to build our next parking garage, which is mostly the discussion of how we take care of parking in downtown Flagstaff, which if we're going to actually look at how much revenue comes from those parking spaces, it's going to take about 40 years to fund a 3-story parking garage. So just broader ideas in a condensed form. Sorry if I went over a little bit of time. If anybody else has.
I have a quick question. Is there a designated bike parking spot down or?
There is now across from the Orpheum, they inlet.
Commission, we're not supposed to.
Oh, we're not supposed to. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
There is no question.
Yeah, and so.
Well, then I spoke
Yes.
as much information as I
Yes.
think
Never.
needed to be filled in. But Tia has my contact if anybody has further discussion, any kind of feedback, collaborative want. We will have surveys there and we'll have a bunch of infocus. So whatever anybody can do will be a helpful thing.
Thank you.
I'm gonna make it down to pedestrian advisory commission to do the same thing. So
Excellent.
hope to see you all first Friday. It's gonna be a good summer. It's looking pretty nice. So
Thank you.
safe on the roads. We'll see you soon.
Are there any other public comments?
It's never been a.
So why can't we ask questions of them?
It's part of, it's just, it's rules,
It's
like
really not.
governance rules and
I
it's.
could
Order or something?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's part of open meeting law, because we need to give folks our agenda in advance, 24 hours in advance. So technically, it's not an agenda item that that you all can address and speak to,
Discuss.
or else we have to, let everyone else know about it in advance.
Perfect.
Yeah, but I can email you all and include Dre's email too about this event.
Thank you, Tia.
And I went ahead and just dropped the flyer in the chat for those online.
Awesome. You have an electronic version of it?
I do.
Oh, cool.
I'll send it out.
Jenna just sent it to us before this
Oh,
meeting. so-
okay. Excellent. All right, then, if there's no other comment, we'll move on to item number 5. Approval of minutes from last month. Commissioners, do you have any comments, questions, changes to submit or?
Move we accept.
Right, I second the motion. Thank you, Commissioner Lanny. So, all in favor? Aye. Oh, okay. Everyone is in favor of approving the minutes from last month. Thank you. And so with that, we'll move on to business. We are going to begin today with an announcement and a monthly sustainability division office report. Yes, I'm going to turn it over to Tia.
No. Yes, my announcement is that I am going to grad school in the fall. Which means that I will be leaving my position with the city midsummer. So
What grad school are you going to?
I'm going to Northern Arizona University.
So it should be all girl, that's all that matters.
Fantastic program.
Yes, to into the environmental sciences and policy program and got a TA fib and a tuition waiver and health insurance. So got a really great opportunity. And
Is it a doctorate you're working on?
it'll be a master's.
Okay.
It's a 2-year program. Yeah, and I was able to tell the city in advance, but it takes, some time to refill positions. So
Skills and time change.
yeah, we don't know exactly, who will be filling in, if there is a gap in between folks, but we'll let you know as soon as possible.
We get any input into the hiring of the next person?
Volunteer.
It's subcommittee to me.
We
Wanna
will
be on a subcommittee?
absolutely be asking for help from a commissioner
Yeah.
to be on the interview panel.
We just turned 3 colors of
Actually,
red.
Oh,
So I think you
I didn't know I was sticking my foot into, but, okay.
Yeah. Tia, if you don't mind, may I add to it, your update? First of all, this is such bittersweet news, incredibly supportive of Tia's next adventure. But it's just been amazing having her in this space. And I think as commissioners, you've probably noticed and have felt her value. And we're gonna feel this tremendous loss. The shoes will be big to fill, but we're super excited for Tia to move on. And I'm all teary-eyed. We also appreciate how much notice Tia gave us because it has allowed us to plan. We hope to have the position posted in the next 2 to 3 weeks. We want to try to get as close to Tia's departure as possible, even if we can even overfill, which means that Tia would be available to help train. But the commission, I just want you all to know we will be here to support in the transition and I'll stop. I keep giving Tia sad face, so.
Well, I feel exactly the same.
Well, I think we should plan visits to the university.
Well,
Stand in the hallway.
We should,
And
we should
ask her
plan
what
a
she's
party.
We're gonna have a party. We will have a commission party.
Cool.
Well, Tia, we'll talk and see what you feel most comfortable with.
Yeah.
So, yes, it's been an incredible part of our team and, you obviously experience her work through the commission lines, but she does so much in our division and has really elevated the integrity, the professionalism of a lot of initiatives that are underway, and especially within the commission. So, yeah.
Yes, definitely.
It's so exciting.
Not see you later yet.
Yeah.
But
Oh, heck no.
So, yeah, I love working with you all and it's just, I feel really lucky to have such a great group that is so dedicated and engaged and I always look forward to the commission meetings and yeah.
Wow.
Be here a few more months.
Yeah, congratulations, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I know firsthand that the opportunities for assistantships have gotten more and more competitive, so you really rose to the top of the
You get an
applicant pool.
assistantship too?
It's, so there's graduate teaching assistantships and research assistantships. And research assistantships typically have like external funding, is that right? Yeah.
Sometimes.
But either one of them are amazing to
Yeah.
get, like to be funded.
To be paid to go to school, that's
Yes.
incredibly cool.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's,
May I add just one more thing?
Please.
So, Tia participated in the school's, educational program that allows for financial assistance to take classes. And so I took a picture of Tia like it was her first day. of
Yeah, it's
kindergarten.
cute.
On her first day of the semester, and I'm looking for it. But that smile on her face, when Tia shared that she was gonna go to grad school, I was like, oh. So exciting, and I knew it. And so it's so nice to know that you're following your dream and something that feels really good.
Yeah, and just on that, I went through the city's tuition reimbursement program, and taking that class as a non-degree seeking student, like really solidified that I was like, I could be in the classroom again, and I was able to meet the person who's gonna be my advisor, and he wrote me letters of recommendation, so it really, and I was just like, this is the program I wanna do, so
Wonderful. Full circle
Really?
bit on that. That's
Yeah.
opportunity and like. creative.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So now we're going to briefly go over our March 2025 Sustainability Division Monthly Report. This is something we used to do every month. We actually used to bring in like a staff member to introduce themselves. We just got really busy, but Commissioner Carlson made an excellent point. Thank you. And said, I don't really know what the division is up to fully. And part of our role is helping to advise on sustainability division matters. So I thought, good time to bring it back. We can keep doing this monthly. So that being said, of course, they are completed like in the first week of the following month. So we have March is the completed one. So makes sense. Some of the highlights for March was that the Mexican consulate visited Flagstaff, and we were able to have a couple staff, as well as Mayor Daggett and a council member to be at that event at CCC. And we were able to provide Spanish language materials at that event, and just to reinforce city support of our community members from all backgrounds. And
I think that Mexican consulate that is housed in Phoenix or the one that's housed in Washington DC.
Phoenix, okay, thanks.
I'm curious.
I got no idea. Yeah. And then, of course, our lovely neighborhood sustainability grant discovery stroll, such an amazing event. Love these photos. We'll have some time to debrief that for today since we haven't seen each other since then for the most part. But heard really good things. And I think we'll definitely keep having this event.
Yeah. Really worthwhile.
Yeah. Heard feedback like that all around. So. Onto some very better news. I don't know, Nicole, do you want to speak to this? This is about our resilience hubs. Right?
Yeah, and actually, so some of the commissioners may be aware, may not. This April's been a little brutal. In a nutshell, just before March, I think it was, right at the end of March, we reserved, sorry, I've been at a budget retreat all day, so
We noticed they had, it must have been a fun retreat.
He's every day.
She's supposed to be smart.
No, I really do. We received a stop work order, that was effective on March 31st. Unfortunately, the communication from the EPA was as such that it went to Jenna Ortega on our team, who is the project lead. And she was on vacation. So she was gone for a week. So when she checked her email and we got the update, we had 6 hours notice to terminate a stop order and to our SIP recipients, which are 3 really important nonprofits in our community. Southside Community Association, Sunnyside Community Association, and the Community Assistance Team of Flagstaff. It was pretty horrible. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Each of these really important community organizations we're intending to use these funds to not only create jobs or pay for staff, but staff to deliver really important and critical resources to the community. Not only in times of all event hazards, but also job development, creating safe places for youth to come, without technology and pressures and yeah, it was a hard blow. All right, fast forward.
Then,
Since then, we formally submitted our appeal. We appealed the termination. And that was submitted formally this past Friday. The EPA has up to 6 months to review our appeal, so we won't know until November what the status of that is. However, we have a high level of confidence that the work that we're doing through the resilience hubs aligns with the EPA's new goals. And because of the breadth of this work, and again, as I mentioned, what this work focuses on. So as we were developing our appeal, we felt a little bit of confidence or hope, I shouldn't say confidence, I would say hope, that there's a strong argument here. We will be issuing a press release tomorrow. We wanted to have the appeals submitted before we sent out a press release. And we are, we called in letters of support from our project partners. We are hoping that we have support from our federal electeds. And I will just keep the commission posted. So what does that mean in the meantime? In the meantime, we are going to continue to support the hubs. They're up, they're running.
you say we are going to support them. Where does the funding come to support?
It's going to be staff time.
Okay,
Yeah.
they're volunteer.
Well, no, I mean, we have a staff person who was hired to run this program.
Okay.
And we have to redirect funds, which we don't have a lot, but once the November elections happened, we immediately safeguarded some money in anticipation of losing federal funds. And that, just for clarification, we are in contract with the EPA. We were 9 months into this grant when we received this top. So we had staff like moving full steam ahead. We are going to uphold our commitment. I am going to fight as best I can. We have internal support. We safeguarded money that can at least carry us till that 6-month marker. I'm also working feverishly to find some other funding sources through philanthropic foundations. Private, yeah, so
It's not.
yeah, but we will continue to support the hubs and the work that they're doing. That work will not now include funding from the EPA.
So, and this is one of the things I'd like to have. You said you could do a press release. You also send the information to us.
Once the press release goes out, I'll forward it to the commission. Senator Mark Kelly is very aware of this. We are bringing it and requesting support from Representative Crane because of his focus on Ready, Set, Go and emergency preparedness. Thank goodness we had just hosted a large event giving away Ready, Set, Go kits, getting people signed up with the county's emergency texting service and so forth. So we're hoping that we can build some enthusiasm for this program and what it truly means. In the meantime, as I said, and along with the team are looking for resources. We're submitting a grant next week. Submitted a earmark request yesterday. So we're not gonna back down.
Grant money from independent foundations. Not federal. You're gonna try to get yourself to be independent.
Okay.
So this is something that, I don't know if this is even appropriate for me to talk about it, but I'm going to do it anyway. I went to the town hall that was held by Chris Mays. Did anybody else go?
My wife did.
You were there?
I was not here.
Okay. So one of the things that she said, and she is the state's attorney general, so I feel like her communication is something that we can share with each other at a governmental level. She said there's 3 C's you need to pay attention to. The first C is communicate. That is, that anytime something happens, you write your congressman and you write it 3 times during the day. It's email, you just keep sending that. Congressmen, senators, just keep doing it. The second C is to recognize that we're involved in a coup. That we have a governmental structure where people are avoiding or trying to deny the fact that we have 3 sets of government. Let's leave it at that. And the third thing was crowds. It's where you can have protests, get together and do crowds. But the first part, that communication part, it is so easy to do. Just get on your email and you start writing, dear Congressman, great. And I've already sent him 4 letters and I can't believe it's only 3 months into this year. And I've already sent Mark Kelly letters and I've sent. So anyway, that's one of the things that everybody can do, and you can do it. You can tell all of your friends, all of your neighbors. It's a real easy gig. And what they believe is that you've got Eli Crane sitting there going, 500 emails have come in on this. They pay attention to it. If 40 emails came in on it, they kind of go, maybe not a good job. So that's something that I think, if we can get the information out, that we need to let people know that that's a very powerful thing to do, is to just write your senators.
So, yeah, we will send the press release to the commission. I don't believe, I need to check to see if we can share the appeal.
We don't need to do that.
Well, it has some highlights in there. However, that said, the Attorney General's office knows that we have appealed.
Mhm.
So, yeah, and that's the status as of today.
How big of a hole did they make?
$1 million, yeah,
Wow.
which is a lot for our,
Well, you're not just gonna scratch that out of the slush fund.
no. And frankly, as many cities, are having similar conversations right now. The city has over $200 million in federal grants right now.
Yeah.
For infrastructure, for resilience hubs, you name it. And we also have 44 million in grants, like that are in limbo right now in terms of what are they gonna do with this grant program. So it's a lot of hurry up and wait.
And unfortunately, there's a perception that the priorities that we once held dear in our country are no longer there. The priority of the environment is in talking about democracy as a whole. Anyway, I've got great concerns about what will eventually happen. That is because as a political body such as the city council has to start working for ways to cover other aspects of the budget, there's sometimes the things that we value will be going other places. I mentioned that when we were talking about the sustainability grants. Someone said, no, it's on your, I want you to know I brought my water bill with me because I wanted to see where it was on my water bill. I can't find it.
I'll show you.
Okay, so I do believe that's something that we should all create serious concern with and start writing.
Well, I think what we can do, we're in the budget retreat today and tomorrow. That's when the city manager's proposed budget is presented to the council. Once we get through that retreat, if there aren't any amendments to what is being proposed, and I sit on the budget team, which is the body that helps to build the proposed budget. The budget will then go for adoption in June by resolution. But I can provide highlights at the next commission meeting. We don't know if anything's going to change. The council was very responsive and receptive this year. We're budgeting accordingly. However, that, as we know, can change on the agenda, like a matter of a week. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna fly through the rest of this.
Sorry.
If you have any questions, it's linked in the agenda.
Yeah, you probably work on your budget too.
Yes. Yes, put your head back on and go back.
And I want to go lay down.
All right. Climate team directly engaged with 211 people in March. As you may know, or may not know, we have an equity climate advisory group that my supervisor, Jenna Ortega, helps run, and this is another group that provides equity-specific feedback on our programming. And the micromobility folks that we're here from really soon also went to ECAT earlier, like last week, I think, or earlier this month. The Green Business Bootcamp, the next iteration, is coming right up on May 1st through June 12th. If you know any businesses or nonprofits who want to develop projects to save costs while conserving energy, water, waste, or reducing transportation emissions, this is a $100 program provided at a reduced cost, and participants can access some really cool funding resources at a low interest rate by participating in this. So it's to make businesses more sustainable.
How many businesses are signed up for the bootcamp?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. Try to get the answer.
They have to pay $100 to go to the boot camp. Is that what the $100 was?
Yes, yeah.
That's good.
And then we actually held the Innovate Green Business Pitch Competition. Thank you, Tom and Mary, for coming to the
Yes.
VIP reception. And then Tom also,
Very interesting.
yes, Tom also came to the pitch competition itself on that Saturday.
Fun.
Jay Jones, Tech Genie for his aeroponics, like modular food growing system.
Guy that's the silo guy. I like it.
2 food guys, not Norman, but yeah. Let's see, we've been able to release a solicitation for energy upgrades for Healthy Homes retrofit program. More on that to come. I believe our home weatherization energy rebates program closed. It was in March.
Yeah, we ran out of money in
Right,
March.
yeah. Of course, yeah,
We ran out of money in March.
yeah.
I think you're doing good things.
Yes,
It needs we made more money.
Yeah.
that too. But yeah, we provided nearly $14,500 in assistance to community members completing energy upgrades. We hosted 2 energy efficiency workshops at the hubs.
I got some of that money the last year you did that.
The
That
also,
electricity money.
we also have a EV ride and drive event coming up at the end of May. If you're interested in checking out different types of electric vehicles, I can send more details about that.
Yes, please do. I do want to try it.
Perfect. Yeah, it should be a great event. We also have the upcoming Youth Climate Leadership Academy teach-in this Saturday from 12 to 5 p.m. If you have any youth in your life that want to come hear people speak, I'm going to be speaking about things.
How do you qualify to be a youth?
I believe it's through
Define
high
youth.
schoolers,
I'm sorry?
through high school.
Through high school. Okay.
Yeah.
Art doesn't count.
That part, not this, yeah.
Young at heart, yeah, he said young at heart. yeah.
ADU Model Plan Library announced the winning designs recently, or actually voting was extended until end of mid-April, but I think we just announced them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yes, so they closed on Friday, and then the announcement was made this last week. Again, this is for March, so things are a little, during the timeline. Let's see, our neighborhood engagement volunteer services team engaged with 476 people through workshops, events, partner meetings, outreach activities in March. You can see the data from our community stewards program, and we also have an employee, city employee program as well. Where employees can earn PTO for playing in the community. The residential food scrap drop-off program diverted 2,500 pounds of food waste from the landfill. We also have stats about how many folks are using our Recycle by City Flagstaff website. Over 1,400 users. Do you all know what that is?
No.
Okay, so that is like a one-stop shop to find out all information about what is and isn't recyclable in Flagstaff.
I'm a regular user of that. I'm on there 5 times a month.
Yeah.
I can
so,
never remember, is
yeah.
this work or is that one? You know?
Exactly, yeah, and it doesn't just list, I mean, it also lists like your schedule, like when pickup is and drop off, or like, yeah, pickup schedule. But yeah, you can look up like batteries, like where can I drop off batteries, or pizza boxes recyclable, like.
Only if they're extremely clean and you've taken all the cheese and nasty stuff out of them.
Yes, they can have a little bit of grease, but, yeah. let's see.
Look at that side.
Systems, they've been doing garden workshops throughout the last couple of months. Staff present at the Farmer and Rancher Resource Fair. You know, all things Sustainability Commission over there.
Mhm.
And then our social media, under Kenzie Marino's helm has been reaching more and more people, over 12,000 people in March. We have 7,500 followers on Facebook.
This is such a lovely visual. Is this, you send this, is this the newsletter you send out to a bunch of people?
This is our top performing social media posts on Facebook in March.
You have to have Facebook to get this good stuff?
All
Are you
of
checking the full?
all of the
Yeah.
content.
I'm talking about the report. It looks,
Oh,
it's so colorful and so attractive.
Oh,
Hoping it was like the newsletter you send out to.
we
Keep
don't send this out. I mean, not that it's not public. We actually prepare it for our city manager's office.
You do a wonderful job. It ought to go out in general.
Say that should be public.
I do too.
But it's
Listen
public.
to what we were talking about today. We should
Yeah.
just, I think we might do a, what have we been up to, page on our website or
Yeah.
whatever. And then we can
post our
post.
newsletters,
these.
reports.
Yeah, because we are now doing
Yeah.
twice year updates to council, which will be a snapshot of our work over 6 months.
Mhm.
And this is a new rotation, so we did ours in March.
Mhm.
The next will be in October, so I like that, yeah.
Well, that's that back to that first C, communicate. Let everybody know what you're doing.
Okay, that's everything.
It's wonderful, wonderful presentation.
Thank you, Tia. Look forward to including that in our meetings moving forward. All right, so we're going to move on to the micromobility share. We have Jamie Larson, who's the Housing and Transportation at Vista, and Lorena Reyes, Mountain Line Associate Transit Planner.
Lorena
Welcome.
had something come up, so I'm a stand-in. I'm Kim Austin from Metro Plan.
All right.
Thank you. So you guys have the B team in me. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh,
No.
Oh, well, hello, everybody. So yeah, we're here to talk about micromobility in Flagstaff. So, our agenda is gonna look like, first, we're gonna go over what is micromobility share, then dive into why we think micromobility share is important, as well as, looking into some of the peer city research that we've done. And then finally, kind of seeing what micromobility share could look like in Flagstaff. And after that, just opening it up for questions and discussions about your guys' opinion on it. So to begin, well, why are we here today? So this is just preliminary discussion to talk about if micromobility share operators should be allowed to come to Flagstaff. And if we do want to move forward, kind of how would that look like? So we went to city council in February and were able to gain direction to start engaging with different community stakeholders to gain their opinion. So currently, Flagstaff code does indicate that micromobility share operators can come to Flagstaff. However, there isn't really a process yet of how to obtain an operator. So we're just trying to see, do we want to keep that code and start exploring options, or do we want to change the code and no longer allow it?
You began by saying, first, let's talk about what micromobility share is, and I still don't have a clue what that is.
Just 1 second.
I mean, she's got it filtered.
No,
through all
but
this
wait, are
conversation.
you ready? There you go. There you go. You ask and we shall give you.
First.
All right, so micromobility share, it refers to the mode of transportation, including light, low occupancy vehicles such as electric scooters, electric bikes. These are publicly available and shared. So they're usually for short-term use, under trips about under a mile. And they're also operated in public right-of-way and over multiple jurisdictions. So these pictures are of NAU, so you can kind of see micromobility is already here. There are a lot of people already using them. Our question is just simply exploring, do we allow an operator of micromobility come to Flagstaff? So that'd be
A
like,
corporate entity, that's what you're
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about.
so a business
Like
to
you,
come.
yeah, to Mexico City, you can rent the bicycle and drive down it, I get it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Did we answer your question?
Yeah, but I was gonna say, you kind of should have started with that and then gone to what it was about. Should we invite them to the city? Well, who are they first?
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, so why do we think micromobility share is important? So for climate action, the National Association of City Transportation Officials indicates that micromobility trips offset about 81 million pounds of carbon in 2023 across North America. So it has a great impact on for climate action, also reducing vehicle use, so reducing the congestion and traffic. Reports show that 37% of micromobility share trips replaced what would have been a car trip. So this can also encourage physical activity. In addition, it's a very affordable mode of transportation. The average mid-sized car costs about $16,000 a year to operate, and then a micromobility share membership is about $100 to $300 to be able to have that like annual membership.
Okay, that's a new phrase word, though, membership. So now you're talking about if you are,
Yeah.
this corporate entity is gonna come and bring bicycles to the electric bicycles, and they're gonna say to me, do you want to be a member of this so that you can have this bicycle anytime? I don't have to use my credit card to rent it, to drive it. Is that what you're saying?
Also, do you want questions throughout or?
Yeah,
that's
great.
yeah, so there's kind of like two different like payment options, I guess. You can either pay as you go, so just kind of pay and they'll charge you, for how long you're using it. Or a lot of operators say just, it's about $100 to $300 annually, and then you can just use it as much as you want.
Thank you. I apologize for interrupting.
Yeah, no worries.
No, please ask questions.
In addition, this will reduce pressure for parking.
No, there's just a large question.
And then also it attracts eco-friendly tourists. It's a selling point for increased marketing and different partnerships. And it's a really fun way for tourists to be able to explore the city. So we do have several guiding city documents that do support the idea of micromobility. So for example, Metro Plan's Stride Forward indicates a need to decrease vehicle miles traveled and indicate a need for transportation behavior change. The Active Transportation Master Plan indicates a need to optimize existing infrastructure for mobility and enhance these different mobility choices. In the Regional Transportation Master Plan, it indicates a need to promote strategies to increase alternative modes of transportation, as well as expanding energy efficient modes of mobility. And then lastly, carbon neutrality plan. So trying to go carbon zero by 2030. It mentions launching a micromobility share program in order to reduce dependence on driving and decrease greenhouse gases. So here we can go see first last mile solutions for mountain lions. So this first last mile is kind of a term used when people are using the bus and it's hard for them, to get to their destination, like when the bus is, just 1 mile away from where they need to go. So this is where micromobility share can come into play and be able to help fill in those gaps. So if you see this kind of brownish areas, those are places that have increased service requests to have a bus stop there. However, because of density and the road network, it is not conducive to be able to put a bus stop there. So this is where micromobility can come, and that kind of helps solve that first last mile issue. So about 64% of riders who use shared micromobility devices use it to connect to transit, and about 18% of those use it. So this shows a positive relationship between the bus system and micromobility.
So you're saying 64% of riders in what arena?
So
City in like
this would be over in North America. So it's from the North American Bike Share and Scooter Share Association. All right, so now diving into some of our peer cities research. So how does it operate in a city? So there's two different ways. When micromobility first kind of came out, 2010, it was completely city operated and owned. However, now it's much more common to have a third party entity come in and kind of oversee the whole program.
So when we had micromobility in Flagstaff previously, was it the city operated?
No, so it was operated by, we had a 6-month pilot program that was Spin, and then eventually signed a contract with Gotcha Mobility. And that was in 2020. However, that contract was then broken because of COVID.
We're picking up where we left off.
Yes, restarting the conversation. So here's some of our peer cities that we looked in. There's 421 cities in North America. I do want to point out that 79% of them are, the systems include both e-scooters and e-bikes. Though e-scooters have been getting more popularity because they're a little more accessible. So usually about 75% of what's available is a scooter and then 25% an e-bike. So over on the left are some of the cities that we have talked to. People kind of learn a little bit more about how they operate, and I'll get into that in the next couple of slides. So, okay, off to the left, this graph shows the average number of active scooters available in the city. So if you look at some of the cities that have about the same population as Flagstaff, such as St. George, Logan, Bend, those are all about 200 to 250 active scooters available, which is probably something that we have to think about that about.
Not real high snow areas though.
What's that?
St. George, not very high snow area. Oh, that's snow there.
Yeah.
Bend is though.
I know. That's why I said St. George. I knew you were gonna smack me on that one.
Yeah, we can go into more of the snow later, 'cause there are different.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have interrupted you. I apologize.
No, you're good. Okay, and then off to the right, so this is showing growth in dockless bike share and e-scooter systems. So when I say dockless, that means there's not a specific location that you have to park the bike in order to end your ride. So there are some differentiations between each city on the city investment and city staff time. So there's different like financial agreements. About 6 out of the 11 peer cities did have some financial, how do you say that? Get some financial incentives back from the company.
Well, okay, so they paid the city. If the city didn't provide staff, at least got some money from the company.
Yeah. And then also there's some for each program differentiated with staff time. So I think Fort Collins had one staff member who dedicated 25% of their time to oversee the program. I think Santa Monica, they had a bunch of different vendors come into their city. So they had one staff member with 50% of their time, as well as a code enforcer who spent a small portion of their time overlooking the program. All right, so this kind of shows some data from the 2018 SPIN pilot program that we did. So overall, over the 6 months, there's about 9,500 total trips, averaging about 11,000 miles total. So this indicates about 2,500 pounds of carbon saved.
How many bikes were part of that original situation?
Ooh, that's a good question. Can you?
We had,
11,000 miles, a lot of miles.
hold on, I can look it up. I'm just, say we had like 500? That seems a lot. Maybe it was 300. I don't remember.
That was in that circumstance where people would ride the bike and then they just leave it someplace, right? Someone would go and pick it up and take it back.
Yeah, there was no geofencing and there were no corrals.
So why does there need to be a program? I mean, I would assume the for-profit companies that do this would do it for profit and.
Well, they do, they get a nice,
Yeah.
you think about that,
So I mean-
$300 a year to ride an electric bike.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, why does there need to be a city engagement at all? Wouldn't just the marketplace kind of drive the use of these things, especially around the campus and places like that?
Well, there doesn't have to be. So what we're asking is, right now, the way the code is written, that a company can obtain a permit, but there's no permit process. So there's no way
So
for
we
a
make
vendor
it
to
difficult
come.
for them
We
to do
make
it.
it impossible for them to come as it stands. So this feasibility study was really to look at the whole program and decide, do we want to update it so that they can, and which way do we want to go? Or do we not want them? And then we have to fix the code. Either way, it needs to be fixed.
It's a part of this discussion,
Regardless.
reframing the code, whatever. it
Right,
looks
we
like.
have to decide, right, and so we're just bringing the information that we learned.
Do you have a
It-
plan for the reframe? Do you know what you want them to do? Do you know what you would like to see the code to say?
It should
No,
just be
no,
wide
I'm
open,
not.
right?
That's-
West for them if they want to come in and do it.
I'm gonna jump in really quick, if
Please,
y'all don't
please jump
mind.
in.
Yeah, so what's on the screen right now is a pilot study that we did to understand the potential of what bike share could bring to
Mhm.
Flagstaff.
prior to this study being done, we had to address a number of things because we knew that scooters, bike share companies were coming in and just dropping bikes everywhere.
Mhm.
We didn't want that for Flagstaff. So we changed the code to say, anybody with over 50 bikes has to be permitted to come into this community to do business. So that would allow us then to put some parameters. You have to have geofencing, you have to have bike corrals, you cannot leave a bike on the sidewalk if it's reported for more than 2 hours, or you will be fined.
You have to have huge insurance.
Of course.
Yeah.
And the fact is that we use this pilot to help inform how we're going to move forward with issuing a solicitation, which, as Jamie mentioned, Gotcha was the award winner. And that allowed us to put controls. The whole idea right now is that if we don't put controls on it, people are going to come in and dump scooters, bikes, and so forth. So we changed the code. But one thing we didn't do as a city organization, we are getting asked repeatedly, companies are coming in saying we want to do business in Flag, but there's now no formal mechanism. And so what we're trying to do is take advantage of where we're at, because there's no formal mechanism for them to get a permit. If we issue the solicitation as a joint collaborative, we get to put in all of these measures. We can say we want a rate specification for low income. We want the bikes to be not available between the hours of 1 a.m. and 6 a.m. It allows us to finesse it in a manner that works best for our community. Did that help?
Yeah, no, I mean, it seems like I've seen them all over the place, so I was trying to figure out what's the deal.
We're trying to put measures that works for our community.
Okay, so you just don't want to see scrap bikes laying around.
We don't, and there's been a lot of lawsuits. There's also a liability from,
Serious liability.
because of right-of-ways and easements and all of that. So it's also a measure to protect the community and the city organization, the riders, all of it.
Plus, if you organize it, you can say to them, because we would like to see these brown sections where they're distancing from the buses. We'd like to see some of those things go there, as opposed to, you can zone it basically if you want to.
Yeah, and so then there's room for, if we do decide to let people come, to be able to like take this feedback and kind of work with them to make the program look how the Flagstaff community wants it to look.
And we know what that is.
We're working on it.
We're working on that.
That's what I asked her that. Do you have something you want to put in place? No.
We're still talking about it, yeah.
And then if you look at this graph, I'm gonna think back to the one with the first last mile with the bus system. And you can see where the lines are. That's where people were taking trips back in 2018. And it does align with those places that lacked bus service. In addition, a lot of these trips happen between 7 p.m. and 3 a.m. So some of the hours that the bus is not operating.
Oh.
So
So you mean like people who are not gonna, they're imbibing and they don't want to drive their cars. They should
Yeah,
jump
I've
on
done
bicycles. Is that what you mean?
No. What we're saying is
7
this,
p.m. to 3 a.m. I'm thinking that's.
well, I know, but this is also someone that might work in the hotel business that
Right.
gets off work and doesn't have a car.
And
So
doesn't
they,
have a bus, okay.
right, so these are just options.
Okay.
It's not necessarily drunk scooter riding.
No, I understand that way.
But,
Yeah,
yes,
that's one of the things that happens.
but
with
it
Uber.
does happen, and that's definitely an enforcement issue by the police, because you can't get a ticket with that.
For drunken scootering?
Mhm.
Oh, you can,
Yeah,
absolutely.
A vehicle,
And bike
a bicycle
too.
is a
You
vehicle, and if you're driving a vehicle under the influence, it
Yes.
doesn't matter. what
It's
the-
100%.
yeah, and I want to point out that micromobility is already here in Flagstaff, so that could already be an issue.
Yeah.
So potentially having an operator and having this like the city implement some like public education could also help mitigate those risks. So I guess we'll jump in.
Also, we're gonna.
You have a driver's license to be able to get on that bicycle, go to the prom.
So, all right, my turn. So as the person who wrote the feasibility report for
That's you.
micromobility, I wrote it,
You are
yes.
team A then, aren't you?
Eh, Jamie's team A. No, I'm just kidding. So I represent MetroPlan and I'm the transportation demand management planner. And my goal is to decrease single occupancy vehicles, less congestion, more active transportation. So this aligns, which is why I updated Mountline had produced a bike share feasibility in 2017. So I updated it because now we need to include scooters because they're actually the ones that we're going to see if we do have a program.
Those are frightening. Those
As
scooters are frightening.
Jamie said, 75% of the devices will be scooters because that is what people want to ride really more than the bikes. So with that, we definitely recommend it. Okay, so I'm the risk person. So we, not only me, but the team, we got together and we decided on some high impact risks that we thought are very important to consider. It's not the only things to consider. These are just items that we really think are very important. Okay, so personal injury. We don't want anyone to get injured. So, and this is injury to the person itself and also where the crash may have occurred. These are going to cross jurisdictions. They're going to be on campus, in the town, on ADOT roads, county roads, the whole shebang. So that's really important to consider. Some ways to mitigate this risk would be obviously waivers for the people who are using it. A lot of these devices are operated through an app, through a smartphone, and so you have to agree to some of their waivers. A contract liability for for these vendors, right? Of course, safety features on the devices, bells and brakes and lights, and we would love to encourage helmet use. We can't require it, but we would love to encourage it. And then, but at some point there is a little bit of risk here that needs to be assumed because people are people. And you can tell them everything, but they're going to ride where they want to ride. So, I mean, hopefully we can educate and minimize this, but there is a little bit of risk to assume on this.
Would the city have any liability risks in any of this?
Well, hopefully they would build these parameters into the contract to really minimize the risk on the city, because that's what we really want, is to protect the city as much as we can.
Arizona has one of the highest rates of pedestrian injuries.
Yes, I do know that.
And so my question is, what's the rate of injury relative to this particular campus? I mean, have you done the research on that?
Yes, there is.
All I can think of is those people taking those scooters across the crosswalk. They're gonna get killed.
There's definitely injury with scooters and stuff. I think that it depends on the city, and because some have higher injury rates than others, but also I'm not sure what their education pieces were, and I would really love to really I'm all about education, and so the more we can educate our users, hopefully they will take that information and process it and ride accordingly.
Is age anywhere a connection to this?
Yeah, there is an age restriction on these. I think it depends, but I think it's either 16 or 18, like a driver's license aged person. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Jamie, I don't know how we're, okay. Parking, right? As Nicole said, we don't want these parked willy-nilly and dropped wherever. So we don't want them blocking sidewalks and ADA access to our buildings. So some options to mitigate this risk would be maybe developing a parking management program and incentivizing for proper parking, for compliance. In Austin, the city of Austin, they have like a leaderboard, with who's riding it the most and are they parking it the best, and there's always friendly, fun competition for that. But also geofencing, and geofencing is a digital tool where the companies and the operators can control these devices, and so they can control, if someone tries to just leave it in a place that isn't designated for parking, it keeps charging your card. That will happen once to people. I hope not more than once, right? These are lessons, but designated parking places. And thankfully, these devices, you can park a lot of the devices in one parking space. So we would need to take a bunch of parking or whatever. As far as, we do have some excellent bike parking facilities and across from the Orpheum. Anyway, but we wouldn't want these devices to take over these existing racks. So maybe requiring the vendors to bring additional parking for these devices. So those are just some ways. I'm not going to read them all because they're there for you guys to read.
Well, do people usually use these point to point, or is it round trips, or how are they actually used?
I think it's usually point to point and someone else jumps on it. And,
Takes it from there.
yeah. Okay, so staff time. There will need to be a staff time. In our peer research, pretty much across the board, it varied, but everyone had some kind of staff time, city staff time dedicated to programs. So this is something that definitely needs to be considered. Now, some of the cities that we studied embed those fees to pay for a staff person. So it may not need, extra funds, but that's a city that would need to be discussed. And so it is, something that needs to be considered because there needs to be someone that is really, what's the word? Responsive to concerns and complaints to the community, as well as working with the vendors and making sure that they're complying with all of the parameters that were set on their contract or whatever permit. Anyway, so putting as much responsibility on the vendor would be the goal, but definitely needs to be considered as far as staff time. Public perception can be hard to change.
That was profound.
No one else has laughed when I said that. This is the first. Everyone else is like,
Okay.
okay. So, in order to change public perception, you need a multifaceted approach to really highlight the benefits and the why, but also addressing the concerns. And so a positive marketing campaign would be ideal. And then being, again, very responsive to the community, some outreach, some education, and just really explain like why. There's a reason. It's not just, oh, let's do it. There's like a intentional reason behind this. So, okay, next one. All right, so infrastructure. We do have some infrastructure tough spots, so we would definitely need to work through that. And then as Nicole said, we did put some codes on where these devices can be written. So there may need to be some updates to those codes if we do want to come. For instance, some of the foots trail riding or those kinds of things. Like there's some parameters on which class of e-bike and where scooters can be ridden stuff. So those might need to be just addressed. And then of course, education. I'm going to say it 4 more times probably during this presentation. And then clarifying where they're to be ridden and the consequences, enforcement and those kinds of things.
Do these particular bicycles have something within the structure that can be controlled like that? For example,
Yes.
let's say, for example, I'm renting one and I'm thinking, I'm going to go out to Fort Tuthill. I'm not at Fort Tuthill. Oh, I think I'll go to Sedona. I mean, is there something on there that's going to go click? You can't go there.
Yes.
You run out of
Geofencing.
battery, you walking.
That's the geofencing
That's
capability.
geofencing.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It's
Is
technology.
it hard to put in the back of your car though?
You're
Right.
checked out on an app on all of it, so they always know who the possessor
They
of it
do
is.
know who is riding it at that time.
Well, and again, the only experience I have is with young people in Mexico City, and they did this. Oh, let's get on the bike, and they went there with it. It's like, wow, was that cool? On their phone, and that was really cool. And I walked, not riding that bicycle, but I was curious about what frames and construction there was around that, because Mexico City is a pretty wild place. I mean, it's not like Well, anyway, it's not like Flagstaff.
I was like riding a scooter in like Boise State University and close to their stadium. It was just a walking only zone and it got really hard to push the
Oh,
scooter.
okay, so even the scooter even knew you can't go there.
Yes, oh yeah.
No, my,
I
my,
knew I couldn't.
yeah, my coworker she was cruising. Oh yeah, this is great. And then she entered a pedestrian hub and the device went. And she was like, "Whoa," and it slowed it down and
So it
there
doesn't
are
just stop and
limits.
knock you off.
No, but you can definitely put limits on, which is really great.
I think so too. I
Okay.
don't think this should be around small elementary schools. I don't want those children being run over.
Okay, so here's just some medium impact risks that just we're mentioning really quick. We talked about devices taking over existing racks and what to do, potentially how to fix that. The sign code, company viability would be in the event the company goes under or, leaves. We don't want all these devices around with no way to control them. And so definitely we need to protect the city to make sure that we have a plan in place, whether it's some of these fees embedded or whatnot, but we definitely want to protect the city. Weak points in infrastructure. I know we're getting some great infrastructure in town, so hopefully that will help with some of it, but there are some points, but educating, being proactive on where there can be written can help. And then we have a specific slide on unbanked. So equity, right? We want to make sure there's equitable distribution of the devices. And there's different ways to do this. Some company or some cities will embed 5% of the devices need to be in X, Y, and Z. So those places that we deemed important, jails, hospitals, shelters, places where people who don't own vehicles would be more apt to use these, right? Or other places, the companies grab all the devices every night and they distribute them accordingly. It's crazy how things happen, they're all different. We couldn't find any, there were some similarities, but all the contracts and permits, they're all different from all the cities. So we get to build it the way we want to build it if we do. But also we need to encourage cash payment options for those who don't have a smartphone or any kind of phone.
How would that work? Would that be their debit card? Is that what you mean? Because I can't imagine a little thing with money in it.
No. I think it would be, at least in some of the cities, there were designated businesses that you could go and you could purchase one with, kind of a thing, but also link it to the transit app for the bus. We could also do that. I know that the county health does give out free bus passes. So maybe this is also a free pass, a couple free rides, those kinds of things. Anyway, so yeah, but just making sure there's options for subsidizing membership costs for low income families, those kinds of things, because these devices also allow people who don't own a car access to healthcare, access to school, access to work, access to, the grocery store, all the things where, it kind of opens up a little bit of possibility for people who don't own a vehicle.
The only thing I see as a serious problem with it is that you have an age group of 16-year-olds, for example. And I realize that, I can just see 12-year-olds run around on these things.
Well, they probably have there's probably some that have personal devices. I
Right.
actually know
That's
several
what
people.
I'm thinking. I'm thinking, so how are you going to tell that they rent it or is it theirs? And the other thing about that, and again, it's the enforcement concept, and also part of that is a liability issue. Is that, Susie goes and she says, well, I'm going to rent one, and she gives it to her 12-year-old brother, and he runs off and gets in the car.
So then the mom is liable.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. And usually these devices are visible. They're bright orange or
They're
most
different
of
than
the personal
regular.
devices aren't, you can distinguish between them. Yeah. Okay. Yep.
It's called an attractive nuisance.
So this is how it could look.
Not kidding.
And so we kind of talked about our options. There's a yes and no option. No, we don't want this, a share program. And so we need to update the code accordingly. Okay, or yes, and then the option goes, do we want contracts, one vendor, or do we want to change the permit so that other vendors can come but get really specific on that permit? When I say that, like the city of Tucson has a 12-page permit process. So while I don't think we can be as restrictive, we still can get, be, fairly detailed in a permit. So it's kind of a yes or no scenario.
Can I ask one more question? I apologize, I keep interrupting you. Does NAU have all of this stuff already going on?
NAU does not have a share program, and NAU is our partner in this.
Okay,
So whatever the city
whatever you guys
does,
do there.
whatever city does, NAU is supportive. Okay, so in the past, a lot of time, in 2010, Jamie mentioned that city owned the devices, they ran the program, whatever. Well, the way it is now, we would want to put as much onus on the operators as possible with and hold them accountable for contract compliance, bringing the devices, managing them, charging them, maintenance of the devices, and then responding to customer service, resolving issues, right? But we will have some responsibility at the city level with enforcing them, codes, laws, the whole bit, and some customer service, just to make sure our public perception is good.
We have
And
a law about wearing helmets on a bicycle.
if you're under 18
Okay, so,
on a bike, not a scooter.
okay, but the point is still for the bicycle, they would have to, because they're under 18, they would have to comply with the present law.
If they're riding an e-bike, but not an e-scooter.
Okay.
So this is where we are right now in the process. I think Jamie and I were just talking. I think this might be the last one. Anyway, so
You mean you've talked to a whole bunch of other people first?
yes, I'm so
We're the
sorry.
last-
No, we tried.
That's insulting.
No, we tried, but we needed more than 15 minutes.
Okay.
That's the only reason why we came in April, not March. So we're wrapping up our engagement, and then we're going to build a recommendation for action and return to city council and present our findings, and then let them decide what they would like to do. And so we'll go from there. If we want to open a procurement process, then we'll open it, pick the vendors, interviews, the whole shebang. And then if there's a permit process, then that needs to begin as well. Again, that's a city council decision. And then this is who we've been speaking with. Pretty much everyone we can think of. And then, so we are asking all the committees and commissions, first, initial reactions, and then what considerations we could incorporate into the procurement process. And this is going to build our recommendation to city council, right? We're trying to gather all the feedback from all the commissions. Should we have one operator? Should we have multiple? And what steps that to ensure equitable access can we take? Because that is something that needs to occur. So now I'm opening it up because I think, oh, there's a survey. Is it out? Is it open?
Not yet.
Okay.
There'll be a survey coming soon.
Almost. It was going to be Earth
The theater
Day.
near us?
It was going to be Earth Day, but not anymore. Okay.
That it snowed, what the heck?
Dang. And yeah, so here we go. Does anyone have any thoughts?
I think, yes, it's really good idea for our community.
Okay.
I think there's gonna be some issues that you are gonna have to worry about ahead of time, there's liabilities and structures and safety. But I do think that considering the future of the idea of electric bicycles and electric scooters, it's where everything's going, and how wonderful to be able to introduce it to young people, the concepts of electrical before they actually can go buy a car, and maybe they'll buy an electric car too. Kind of like opening doors towards electricity. I kind of like that idea. So
Well,
yes, I think it's a great idea.
And I like the idea of it. My hope would be increased transit use with these devices.
We gotta get on those buses. We
Mhm.
love your buses.
Yeah.
Do they have a rack on the buses that'll hold a scooter?
They're addressing that.
Oh, they had bicycle racks, I didn't know it wouldn't have driven the whole scooter.
So right now, if you can fold it, so a share program is not meant to go on the bus,
Right, they're big, heavy duty.
right? A share program is meant to get to the bus and then you leave it.
Okay,
Your personal devices, if you can fold them up, you take them on the bus. A bike, you can put on, but they're heavy.
yeah, they're.
E-bikes are really heavy to lift on the bus.
Yeah, we don't do that.
I know Mountain Line is our partner in there and we've
Also,
talked
that
about.
Geo stuff comes in, you have a little parking space next to the bus, where you leave your bike, and you
Uh-huh.
ride your bus, you go to work, you come back, get on your bike, and go home again, or whatever.
Okay,
I also think it's a fantastic idea and I'd love to see Flagstaff explore, like take this further down that flow chart that you just put up. That's exciting. I also am a bike commuter in this town and there are already issues with, in my opinion, our infrastructure for micromobility has vast room for improvement. And I actually was at a conference in Austin last summer and I saw those cool scooters zooming all over the place and I thought of Flagstaff. But the other thing I noticed, I was downtown and, they had huge bike lanes, they had huge sidewalks. There was just so much space, the way the city was designed to allow for that. And so that's another thing I noticed that like we have narrow sidewalks. I didn't. We have narrow, we don't want bikes and scooters on sidewalks at all. And we have small bike lanes and not bike lanes in many areas. And so I just want to voice that I'm very, very supportive of developing better infrastructure for micromobility in general. But I think this is great.
That's the question, is it the horse and the cart?
Right.
Do you build,
Yep.
do the infrastructure first and then you have to.
Well, and maybe that could be one of the considerations or incentives. I know like when developers are coming in and building a neighborhood, sometimes they have to pay for the, infrastructure development that's not on the city or support it or share that cost. So maybe, maybe a contractor could support some of the costs of improving.
Councilmember Spence, at the bike advisory presentation, said, why don't we just take one of the lanes of traffic and make it for all bike? And I was like, yes, why don't we?
Yeah.
But, so it's
We
coming,
need a lot of micromobility
which is
for
great,
that to
which
work,
is great.
but, I mean, as a bike commuter, I agree that would be fantastic, but, not when I'm in my car.
I was gonna say, which lane, my lane or your lane?
Okay, so I'm just gonna skip to the bottom two questions. First of all, I think the answer to one operator or multiple operators just kind of has to do with demand. It sounds like you guys have a handle on, we need 200 to 500 or whatever. So I'd say one operator, if they can just provide the amount that we need and pick the one that suits what our needs are best. And then I have some things I wrote down that kind of fit the bottom question about equitable access. So I'll just go through them quickly. First of all, I was thinking maybe something with membership ties between like Mountain Line or bus passes and the micromobility subscription. Second, I think the ability to kind of put in a request for like, I want a parking location near my house or something, if that's possible. Cause I don't know, I'm thinking, I grew up on the east side and I saw on that map, they had less than 10 trips in 2018 on the east side of Flagstaff. So if there was one person that was saying, I want it on east side and there's no parking locations over there, I want to be able to request, maybe I could park it over there. Third, I think a good thing would just be kind of to take it to the community, see what types of things they want, and then put that in the procurement, see if they have any good ideas. Also, just like maybe tiered pricing for how many miles you think you're going to travel per year or whatever. And then also maybe like you were saying, they had rankings for better park or people who park it properly. So maybe rankings for distance traveled, which would be good for carbon neutrality plan.
I think that'd be really fun. Commissioner Carlson has some comments online. Thank you for your thought and intention on this process. I love micromobility and we need to advocate for and implement it whenever possible. I would like to respectfully voice that I worry about this being overregulated. I think we need to implement this wide scale sooner rather than later. And I wholeheartedly echo what Chair Wolkowinski said, that we vastly need our non-car infrastructure upgraded. It is unfortunate how existing non-car infrastructure that is well loved or used doesn't seem to be updated for its current use. I agree. I also echo support for integrating it with Mountain Line Transit digital and physical systems. Thank you, Commissioner Carlson.
Bike advisory did, one of their comments was, don't make it so restrictive that a vendor doesn't want to come.
Sure.
So that speaks to the overregulation of it.
I'm 100% agreement with that.
I think you want to have somebody that's willing to go through all kinds of hoops to be able to support you and take care of you. Has lots of experience and knows what they're doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's my opinion.
One idea brought up at the bike summit, Lorena was telling me about this, that someone who else here in another city who runs micromobility shares said they encourage doing one operator because they'll be more likely to work with you. And that's how they ended up doing their whole process. And then even kept the prices lower because they're like, if we're the only one, then they're like more willing
Yeah,
to
there's
work
an
with you.
advantage to that. That's a good thought. I interrupted you and I
Would the
apologize.
city be looking to generate revenue beyond covering costs with this, or they're just, like if you issued an RFP and you were looking for one vendor, would that be part of it is, to generate revenue, or is it just cover costs?
From the city's perspective, it's just to cover costs.
There's a lot of additional costs though, because you're gonna need to you have to consider police costs. There's gonna be other things besides just that one person interacting with that. As you start increasing the variety of different vehicles in an area, you're gonna have a whole lot of different other issues besides just the police department.
And we've been speaking with the police department already.
They used to make some money hustling the jailers down in Mesa and Phoenix, taking them to the Chargers, picking them up off the street.
That is what, it's a bribe. It's an income generating like business for some people to, take them to their house and charge them up and.
Take them back to the nest and.
Well, I've seen that.
100%.
I've seen that where they actually offer,
Yep.
prizes. We'll give you $100 if you'll be the person that goes and picks them up all the time. A little fun thing. That's good.
Is this good feedback for you?
This is great feedback. Thank you so much for the time during your meeting. I appreciate it so
Thank you for
much.
coming. Thank you for presenting.
Absolutely.
Really great stuff. Good work.
Yes.
Thank you for doing the work.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Good luck.
Next item on the agenda is the neighborhood sustainability grant conversation. And I think based on the fact that we're rapidly running out of time, we should prioritize forming a working group to carry on with executing the things that we've talked about so far and the things that we will have time to discuss tonight. We're down a few people. Actually.
Kristen and Roger.
Yeah. So is anybody here interested in being on working group or making the changes that we have discussed so far and we will discuss for next year's round of neighborhood sustainability together?
And I'll just add that I'm hoping to, before I leave, work with you all to get everything ready for the next grant cycle. Since my tentative date is like mid-July.
That would be amazing.
So it would probably be like voting on materials and approving it like at our June meeting and or retreat if we have one. So, yeah.
Can I just ask, would the working group be like forming the new proposal or,
Applications are great.
yeah, thank you.
It would be like ensuring the things that we have already discussed in the last few meetings in terms of like updating any like materials. I know we've discussed updating. I do have a little slideshow.
Go ahead.
Talking about, I don't remember what we said.
I know, I was gonna say, I jump in on this.
I literally was listening to it right before, because we went back and forth so many
We
times.
did. I read the minutes several times, like,
I know.
what did we talk about?
I know, I even had
What did we
to-
decide?
Yeah.
So yes, I just looked at the clock and, I want to make sure that we discuss this a little bit, but forming this working group so we can really finish strong with Tia, take advantage of, you know, how much she knows from the years she spent working on this.
Not going to the moon.
I know.
Have a lot of time to definitely right before.
I would.
Maybe you can help educate the other graduate
Manage, you gotta
students
think
in Earth
of
and Sustainability about this opportunity for funding.
Yeah.
Woo, wow, that's weird.
Whoa.
That was really weird. What was that?
But, I mean, we don't need anything up, really. We just are looking for people. We can have up to 3 commissioners, less than a quorum, and probably meeting 2 to 3 times between now and our June meeting.
Between now and our June meeting?
Yeah, so.
So it has to
2
be in
months.
May.
Times in May.
The end,
Yeah, by the end of June.
end of
so-
June, by our June meeting, the 4th Thursday.
So within the next 6 weeks. Or 8 weeks.
I mean, I would do it.
I'll give you on that.
I'll do it. With those 2.
Thank you, guys.
Yes. Outstanding. I will be in touch to schedule.
The only thing I would think we would need was some real clarity about what specific things we're looking at. Because like you said, it just.
Well, if we're on the working, group, we get to determine that, right? We get to
Well, we
make
get
what we want.
Remember what it looks like after. We need to have what the vision is first.
So,
I don't mind drawing the picture, but I want to know what I'm shooting.
yeah,
And that's the discussion we need to finish right now.
well, and we
Right.
have already debriefed. We have had 2 debriefs at least. I think I have notes from January and March in terms of things that have already been decided. So I have a big running list of the changes we need to make. So.
It's chilly in here.
I'm
68 degrees. Yeah.
That's what usually it's warmer
I
on
know.
warm day.
Well, because
Well, yeah, it's 70, so they put an AC on them.
Thing, they want us to stay low on the energy.
Oh, no.
That's about a change this one.
No, people shouldn't be cold.
I don't mind walking to the meeting, but I want the room heated when I get there.
Unless you're running late, 'cause then you're
Yeah.
running in your car.
Then I'm running to the meeting, you're right, that's a different thing.
All right, up on the screen, you can see a really brief, like recap of our discussion last month. And then I do have a whole,
Nice that is, oh my goodness, Tia, that was wonderful.
just had to finally get it up, yeah. So we had a lengthy discussion about the scoring discrepancies and what to do with that. We went back and forth.
Actually, we never figured it out.
No, we did.
We did.
Yeah, we did. I just listened to it again today. What we will do is ask the commissioners where is a scoring discrepancy to re-review their scores. If it's consistent across like all of their scorings is consistently low, then I will probably sit down with, I keep saying I am, sorry.
Someone will have to sit down with those people and
Someone
say,
will have to sit down with them.
being such a nudge.
No, they will say,
My favorite word.
this is the rubric, like go over the rubric. Not eloquent understanding any of this. And then we also discussed leaning into the comments. We did chat about providing a larger summary. We went back and forth about whether to do that on where the ones there was a scoring discrepancy versus doing the ones just on the line. And honestly, I think one of the main things we came back to was just like use the comment feature, in part because of how quick the timeline is between the Q&A being due people, which is usually like you have less than a week to review the answers that are back and possibly revise your scores and then like adjusting those average scores. But we could put it as an idea, or if the working group wants to decide for sure if those summaries, if we want those summaries for any of those cases.
So we never discussed the notion that if I'm evaluating something, and I write over here in the comment section, this person, I don't know, this person's perspective is not in line with what we're trying to achieve. That's what I write down. So someone else who's evaluating that one, do they read what I say and then they get to decide? Or do they go, oh, she's right? Does that affect other
Oh,
people's?
like the person with a scoring discrepancy reading your comments?
That's right, that we're all three reading the same thing.
I think that seems reasonable.
Okay, I was gonna say,
Fair.
I'm not sure that's a positive thing. I think that it's kind of nice to go in, and you are looking at the application and this is what you think. Then later on, you can come back and say, okay, well, I thought that and you thought that, maybe we should discuss that. But if I read what you've written and that changes what I've written,
Yeah,
then that's not a good thing.
I think everybody should do their own evaluations.
Yes, that's
before
what I'm saying.
looking
You
at
shouldn't be able
each
to read the
comments,
other
but-
written comments. That's
No,
my point.
and no one.
That's kind of how it was, wasn't
Yeah,
it? I mean, you had your own
absolutely.
tab, and you could go find the other
No, you
people's if
weren't
you really
supposed to
wanted
do
to.
that.
You weren't supposed to.
We were supposed to do that.
Uh-oh.
Yes. Okay, so this is not.
Okay, anyway, not the point. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So these are just because you asked, what are we gonna talk about? Like, don't worry, we do have like a list of things we are doing with the materials. And
I think if the subcommittee looks at the new application using a different format, that might open the door to all kinds of positive changes. I have to worry about it.
Yeah,
I think that's really the thing with the format sucked.
So does that have legs beyond you? Because that was your connection, right? The person in Portland or wherever it was that happened.
oh, yeah, that's this, I'm envisioning that like the entire application will be ready to just essentially be published and go live on the day of like August 15th, if that's the day it goes live again. And so it'll be in, that's the last thing that really needs to happen, although it will be helpful to know what the functionality is. Because it's a brand new platform with all these different tools and widgets at the back end. So in terms of making it a clearer application, that's something we can craft together, but that's probably one of the last end steps after updating all the materials in like a shared doc.
But you will have that application for us to look at, the subcommittee to determine how is this going to affect the overall outcome? Is it something that will solve some of our problems?
Yeah.
Because in
Yeah,
some cases, some of them were not problems. It was, I wasn't happy, but you were, or you weren't happy. We need to make sure that we're not reinventing wheels because this year we didn't like something. It really needs to be something that can be stand on itself and go forward for everybody else to do. That's my opinion at least.
An iterative process improvement. Where does it go?
Well,
You all
part of
want to
it-
vote on the working group for now? Do you want to vote on the working group?
Sure.
I never
Oh, we have
remember.
to put it in order.
Okay, so Commissioners Lammy, Bourne, and Vice Chair Metzger have volunteered to serve on the working group to update the neighborhood sustainability grants. Do we have to make a motion before we vote?
I think
I've been doing my homework on Robert's
Subcommittee in
rules.
general, don't we? That's the thing. we
okay.
make the motion. Not on it, but yeah.
Would anybody like to make a motion to form a subcommittee for this?
I move that we form a subcommittee to resolve the problems that we've established and recognized in the application process for sustainability grants.
That's a lot.
I second Commissioner Metzger's motion to form a working group to address the issues we've identified with the neighborhood sustainability grant application process. I'd like to put this motion to a vote. That the motion is that Vice Chair Metzger, Commissioner Lammy, and Commissioner Bourne will serve on this working group. All in favor? Say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Carlson?
He's cooking dinner.
Whatever reason you
Okay.
could.
So is there any
Fantastic.
risk of the funds, with all the things that have come to light, with the grants?
That's why I
and
brought my
everything?
water bill.
So the neighborhood sustainability grant is the funds for the grant, and I'll show you where your is. But those are in what we call our base budget. Those are funds that are recurring every year. And
Like paying the water bill.
Environmental management program fee, is that it?
that's it.
Yep.
That money is set aside by the city council, and they can't come back and say, oh, you know what, we could use
It's
that.
set by ordinance, so
Oh,
it's law.
All right, and I'm.
Yep.
I saw that, wondered.
Yeah, so we've been working, fun fact, the first neighborhood sustainability grant, kind of launch, we had 5,000.
Total. Total. Wow.
Cute.
It's taken a while.
That's cute.
Hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been I mean, but that's a real testament to the commission and also just the caliber and the quality of the process.
Well, $2.50 is a lot of money.
It's less than you paid in 2019.
Oh, is it?
Everyone paid a flat $4
Oh, for the whole year? No? Oh,
every month.
oh.
So we had the ordinance change to actually be more equitable because the individual resident paid $4, but a multifamily unit paid $4 per unit. So someone that had maybe 900 residents only paid
House likes it only, but yeah.
$20. So we made that more equitable and it benefited most residents, as it should have.
Well, and I have, I mean, maybe this isn't appropriate to talk about this in our meeting, but I have grave concerns that the way things are going on a larger scale will affect all of us very soon. And I was at a college of education meeting a couple of weeks ago, and they were in the same, oh, no, there are no problems. We won't, and I'm thinking, yeah, now Harvard's looking at us, at whether it's even gonna be accredited. And so there's big stuff going on, and it's scary. So, sorry about that. Yeah.
Oh, Tia, is this an appropriate time? One thing that came up that Tia and I talked about, I just don't want to lose it, is adding some disclaimer language into the actual application that currently elected officials can't apply. And we just had a good learning opportunity with the Innovate Green Challenge. And we also felt that it's important to craft language related to city staff as well, that ensuring that there's no conflicts of interest. So always, and this is why this process is so important, because it's constantly evolving. We've been doing this for 10 years, and this was the first time that we had a situation where we went, oh, we didn't even think of that. Not first time, but with this particular potential with an elected official or a current staffer. So just some more checks and balances. So it's always a good exercise.
The grants are a substantial amount of money, actually.
And
People don't.
they used to be
think it's
$500.
It's a nice little chunk that helps people out, and you don't want to have the position where, someone says, wait a minute, my cousin Susie got one, and her brother works for the sustainability.
Yeah, exactly. So so we're learning, and that's why I just want to say thank you, because it is really important. It's easy to think, oh, it's perfect now, but always new year.
No, it's always room for improvement. Thank you for adding that. That's important.
We'll put that on the working group's list of.
Yeah, I just don't want to forget.
We do have a couple other items. One is a neighborhood sustainability grant revision request. And then we also want to do a little bit of brief debrief of the discovery stroll to capture our thoughts before, it's next year already and coming up again to plan it. So this first one, Southside Community Association, you've heard their name already this evening because they are one of our EPA grantees and one of the community resilience hubs. Part of this request is related to that, in that I actually thought about, what are some ways that we can continue to support them or be flexible. And I thought about them receiving a neighborhood sustainability grant this last fall. I would say everything they do aligns with the mission and vision of this grant program, especially their resilience hub work. And their original grant was very broad. I will say it was supporting outreach and engagement in the community. And I asked them if they would be interested in moving the remainder of their funds towards supporting that staff member who had funding terminated through the termination of this grant. And they expressed they are very interested in that.
Rephrase, what was their grant money for? I've forgotten. I mean, I know that they're a wonderful program, but what was it?
Running the climate resilience hubs, community resilience hub, kind of a community center for, work skills, community events, being a safe place in emergencies that is also cozy and warm and cool during different weather events and smoke-free. And so
That was one of this year's grants, and we gave them $7,500.
That's the resilience hub.
that is the EPA Resilience Hub, the $1 million fund.
No, okay, so that's not the grant, but you're saying we
They
want them to be able to use
received
it.
another one, yeah.
What was the grant that they got from us for, so that we
That
can
was
say,
the outreach and community.
yes, they can check off?
It
Okay.
really aligned actually with, yeah, I mean, really it was also like kind of supporting the resilience hub's work and also their new community garden that they're putting in as well. So,
Okay, the community garden is what
Yes,
we were looking at.
and so they sent me all, like what they have spent already, and I can pull this up.
Can you make it bigger?
So they have already spent $3,300 about, and the remaining budget is 4,000. And so they are requesting, my prompting, to stop expending on these other line items and spend the rest on supporting this local community member, and leader and staff member in,
How much of that money went already to staffing? Isn't there a percentage limitation on how much you can spend on staff?
there is, but the commission and staff can approve exceptions to that.
Okay.
Given the unique, unprecedented situation. It's also really close to, so they have already spent $400 on paying a workshop coordinator, so not even the staff member that.
Okay, so they still come within the framework then, that's all of it. I just don't want to set some new precedents because we're gonna be seeing a lot of this stuff. We're gonna be seeing a lot of.
I may just jump in. I don't think so, because this is the only grant that.
I don't think we're gonna be seeing a lot of that. I think we're gonna be seeing a lot of these things are gonna be happening in general. We're gonna see.
There. However, I think this is a unique situation because we are trying to help offset the loss of the grant.
I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
The loss of the grant is
One
due
of our
to.
Direct,
With
our
the-
grant,
No.
because we can't cover. We
Oh,
can't,
it's not the EPA grant.
no, it is the UK grant, but we can't do anything to help support them because we're taxed financially.
Right.
Can you remind us how much funding they lost to support this? Their,
I think they were 330,000. I mean, this is significant money for this small.
and so this community member lost their job.
Right, I'm aware of that. And I'm aware that there are going to be tremendous numbers of people losing their jobs. This is just the start of this whole thing. But again, I mean, I also,
Well, support it
of
though.
course I support it.
Okay.
I'm just saying, be careful because we're looking at precedents that you're going to be
I
facing.
mean, this wouldn't be the worst precedent to set even, so if
Yeah.
it was the case, so, yeah, I mean, it's kind of a moot point.
The
But
rules
$40,000 isn't gonna get very far.
It's always gonna
but-
go back to you all, and staff to review. And that is a wording in the grant requirements is that only up to 50% can be spent on staff time and exceptions can be made at the discretion.
Notice, I'm not in any way negative about this. I think if you wanted to give even more money, I'm happy with that. I'm just cautioning that we are looking at a long road.
I don't think we have to worry about setting a precedent though, because the way the language is already stated allows us to use our judgment in individual cases. So
Well,
I agree with your concern.
It comes back to the point that you made. We never even thought about, we should be making.
Do we need to vote on that, Tia?
Yes,
We're gonna be talking
okay,
about these
yeah.
things.
I don't think any of our grants are currently this fiscal year. I think this is a unique situation. You may see grant applications coming to you asking to offset. But this is just redirecting existing funds to help save somebody's jobs.
Volunteers to do the garden.
Yeah, and so he'll help coordinate volunteers. And basically they had already put some of this, 2K in the budget towards that. And so they're directing it back towards the staff member that they, are unexpectedly losing funds towards. So.
I mean, what does that buy them, another month or something for that person to?
I was thinking that today. I did ask specifically, and if you have any other like guidelines or questions, I was thinking about, maybe adding a sentence, about, why the approval is happening because of the support towards the work that
Don't do that.
the
Just leave it.
community association is doing.
Just do that. We'll just vote for it. Don't do that. Don't go there.
A sentence where,
Usually, well, just because we don't have more information about how it might change the outcomes in like the final report. So I was just thinking like, in the spirit of this grant, kind of like, this is. So I don't know, I don't know how to address in the final report, like the outcomes will probably be slightly different.
Did they ask to be able to do it?
yeah,
If they've asked to do it, just say we're granting it. Just leave it at that. If they've asked to readjust their particular budget and say, yes, we've okayed that.
part of the requirement of the grant program though is, the final reports and meeting the outcomes, but, you could,
It should be pretty easy to spin.
I agree, like, saying, we understand this will impact
Yes.
the outcomes that you put in your application. You are still
Acknowledge
required
this.
to, complete the final report and, and then explain
Mhm.
what your outcomes are.
Yeah.
As a result. So just, yeah, acknowledge it, but not waive anything.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
That's exactly what.
Yeah. okay,
Just say yes. That's all I'm suggesting. is you just
Yes.
Approve what they've asked.
okay.
Just say yes.
Right, well, I'd like to make a motion to support the Southside Community Association's revision request.
I second. Oh, you can say.
Okay, all right, we have a motion to support Southside Community Association's request for 24-25 Neighborhood Sustainability Grant Budget Revision. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Well, I mean, it's kind of off the track a little bit, but the fellow that won the green business competition, what was that called again?
The Green Business Company.
Innovate Green.
Innovate Green.
Yeah.
Yeah, have we connected him with these guys? I mean, because he's looking, I think, for places to put his.
He's actually already donating his aeroponic system to them, which
Oh, good for him.
was a really good sign for the judges.
Yeah.
Cool. He is already connected.
All right, Tia, is there any way we can spend maybe 3 more minutes on this agenda item? or
Yeah.
Less?
Actually,
Or,
there was a survey that went out to all the commissioners that attended. And
all commissioners that attended?
To the stroll.
the discovery stroll.
Awesome. Little piece of paper handed to us. We aren't done it.
That was online. It was a Survey Monkey.
Well, then I didn't do the survey monkey.
It wasn't a survey monkey.
I don't let monkeys in my house.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, people could do it online and we can collect feedback that way. I could, but yeah, I mean, does anyone have any? Like, we could do quick round robin, 30 seconds, one thing you like, one thing you'd like to see improved. How about that?
Okay.
I like the way it was set up, because you got to kind of talk with everybody, and it worked out much better than I thought. I thought it would be too noisy and confusing, and it actually was just fine. Improvements. It was kind of weird having the dude back there in the corner.
Who's the dude in the corner?
Oh, he comes in all the time, Warren.
I missed the dirt. I missed the dude in the corner.
He's an existing awardee from the Flagstaff Water Group. Came to show off his
He was the one that had like the charcoal filtration
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh, that guy, I like that, but you're right.
Thank you.
I know who you're talking about.
He'll be at one of the official tables, so there won't be a weird guy in the corner next to you.
Yeah.
No weird corners.
Yeah.
Elijah.
I liked the format too. I thought it was cool. We broke out into groups, but I would like to just see being able to meet with all the groups.
Yeah.
Time for that.
Yeah, I thought it was fun, interactive. I felt like the distribution of people between all the groups wasn't fantastic. And yeah. And also, it would be nice, we'd have to have so much time to see every awardee. But I'd love to figure out how to do that as well. Yeah, I don't know.
I think it needed a bigger venue, that would have helped, maybe going for cafeteria, cooking high school, or something like that, where you have
So,
lots more space.
I think having a little more space would help also, but I really loved having it at Market of Dreams.
Well,
So,
I wonder,
Even if we opened up that other room,
yeah, maybe we could go in the market and like.
This is my turn, you guys, come on.
start the conversation.
So the bigger venue would have been able to invite more people, because I think that's the thing that's missing truly is it would be great to have people who have never had it, didn't even know there was these grants to come and see all this stuff and open that door. That's what I was thinking. Maybe even have it at another event where, like at a.
What were we we didn't limit the invitees, did we?
We thought we aimed for about 50 people and got about 50 people, but technically it could fit more, but not the way like we.
Right,
I
but we
think
didn't
set
have
up,
100 people wanting to get in or anything.
towards the end, we limited like
We didn't do
exposure.
broader- Yeah, we limited exposure. I chose not to do a press release. We did specific asks to meet directly to media to invite them.
Yeah, almost if you had it on Earth Day in a bigger environment, that would be a fun place to have everybody.
I'd also like to nominate Chairman Wolowinski to be the MC again next year.
Excellent job.
That all happened in a matter of minutes via a text and yeah.
Well, no, she did, she was.
Oh, wait, let's see, but like filling in. Sorry, that's
Oh.
right.
What?
Take
Well, it
the
was
fill-
It's a little oddly, Anthony Garcia.
Yeah.
Councilmember Garcia filled in for.
But
Yeah,
then
he's still-
you corrected.
Yeah, he stood up and said.
Oh,
"That's fun,
federal
supporting
grant,
all of
he
us."
was-
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh, great, that's what we
Yeah,
had to hear.
it was.
I wasn't there and I just also want to extend my apologies for my absence. I was in the water services director interview, so I was getting real-time pictures and sharing them back and forth of what's going on there.
Person, you said.
It was kind of funny. She shared this photo of like the interview, like, it was like a public event. And like, I could tell he was like looking at Nicole. Nice, this lady taking a photo of
I know. And she was like, it's going right here. And I was like, I'm so jealous.
And your work was so well organized and so well done. It was very
Yeah,
classy.
it really
It was
was.
very classy. The tables with the black,
Yeah.
food, everything was very nicely done. It was very classy.
I'm really happy with how it went. I think, yeah, there was like a couple of tables that were kind of close when there was like big groups. And let's see, and yeah, being able to hear everyone would be really fun.
It was interesting too, because, when you're doing the grant, when we're working with these grants, you read 2 or 3 of them in depth. You don't really read everybody else's so much.
Mhm.
Standing there looking at this, looking at the garden that's by the
The Orchard Garden? or-
yeah.
Olivia White.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was kind of amazing. I've never heard of
Even
that.
knew this place existed. And I thought, now I'm gonna have a place to take my niece when she visits me, go show her the garden. This is great.
Plum and Mark or. July.
I have one more thing to add. I noticed when I was in one of the groups, and I actually stayed away from this woman but there was one point that one of the grantees was presenting, and there was a woman that was she wasn't presenting, and she kind of took over the conversation. I don't know, somehow limiting that. She kind of wanted to steer it in her own direction.
It wasn't me, was it?
But
No, so I'm sorry, I'm not hearing what you're saying. The grantee was taken over or?
Yeah, the grantee was talking and they barely got to talk
Oh.
about what they did because there was another one.
I
that
think I
wanted
know
to-
exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Was it the woman that was building the
I think
the wood things?
one thing we kind of didn't do as much as we kind of said we were going to is just have a commissioner assigned to each group that helped facilitate.
Right,
Yeah, I think about it.
absolutely.
Totally.
Totally. Now I know where I can take all my other compostables too. I'm really excited about that. There's a compostable place where you take all of your compostables, your chicken bones, everything.
Pretty awesome.
goes. I think that's excellent.
Along those same lines, I had a hard time engaging with the groups because I was so worried about the
Oh, yeah.
timing.
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
if staff
Uh-huh.
could run the
Yes.
timer and herd the cats and
Totally.
make everybody
Yeah.
move so that
Yeah.
whoever's emceeing the event could then, like, I assume it would be somebody on the commission then.
Yeah, we already nominated.
Right?
You've already been selected.
Thank you. I appreciate the vote of confidence.
So I have one other question and
I was really scared.
Exactly.
How am I, this barely makes sense to me how this is gonna work.
it was hard to figure out when you were talking about, I have to say that. You're gonna go right, or you're gonna go left, or you're gonna follow. And all of a sudden, they have to do is say,
fine,
follow
except
the arrows.
No, that was great. That was so,
Us, arrows going up. So the other question I had was, this is not, I don't mean to be unkind about this, but was the food necessary? Was it necessary to feed people like that?
Yes.
And you think it is necessary to?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
100%.
All right.
I agree.
No
I
doubt.
think that people want to be fed at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, 5:30 to 7.
yeah.
People want to be fed at 7 o'clock.
Keeps them there. It's like lunch.
It's like events to, just like people gather around food. It's like a community builder. It helps like.
Well, then
break
next time you
the
have more
silence.
cookies, that's all I gotta say. Don't give me ham sandwiches, give me cookies.
But we didn't buy them.
There were wraps there. I remember
food
going,
was
I don't
great.
want
The
those
food was
wraps.
great. I know. No, that was at the Innovate Green.
Oh, you're right, I didn't like
competition. I don't like wraps
Okay.
either, so I didn't.
That a girl. So may I ask, as a member of the subcommittee, that
We
if
do have
there's,
one more agenda item and it's 6:28.
okay, if there's anything anyone wants to suggest regarding improvement of the sustainability grant process or grants, and it hasn't been addressed, please email them to this girl, to Tia, so we can have any other input that people want. I almost called her Kia.
That
Isn't that a car?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody today about IKEA, that's why this stuff.
Thank you.
So,
We're good on that agenda item.
Yes,
We've
yeah.
voted on everything we need to, so extremely quickly, I'm gonna ask, the next item on the agenda is the Sustainability Commission ordinance update. Forming a working group around that and discussing the possibility of a retreat in June. I hate to do it, but I think I'm gonna table forming a working group for the ordinance because
I think we need to make it.
really,
Yeah.
we have to have an ordinance.
There's an ordinance?
I would like for Tia,
Are you gonna be gone in May?
I am not gonna be here in May, that's right.
Oh, yeah, but we can still make it as long as
Mhm.
it just, yeah. Go ahead.
Also, I mean, we need to spend at least 10 minutes talking about this to form a working group. I was hoping that Tia, I looked at the ordinance today, it's outdated.
Mhm.
It's also very,
It was
like legalese.
in 2007.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's what's guiding the commission. It needs to be updated. I don't know if anybody else looked at it. It's attached to the agenda. It needs to be updated and I'd be happy to be on that working group. So I guess maybe we could just form a working group and move on. If nobody needs more of an explanation about what the
Can
ordinance
you
is.
assign people to working groups, like the ones that aren't here?
We can.
Yeah, I think we
There
can.
you go.
Yeah.
We're working.
Yeah.
We're a working
Then
group.
they can show up. in
That's
case,
fair.
Just in case.
And I can step in too to help with the working group, just because
If we have suggestions for the ordinance, we'll send those to her too.
Okay.
Read the ordinances.
Commissioner Carlson, do you have any interest in serving on the working group that updates the ordinance, which outlines the things the commission works on?
Blah, blah, blah.
Not particularly.
Fair enough.
That's okay. Okey-dokey.
Okay, I'm
Well,
happy to be on that
When do you
working
plan to
group.
do this ordinance revision?
It's not as time sensitive as neighborhood sustainability grants.
I'll do it.
No, we're trying to get it done before I leave too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I still will make it happen.
Well, it only takes an hour or two to do this,
So do
right?
we want to just
Sorry.
appoint Roger and Kristen, and if they can't make it, they can.
Then we'll start. That was great.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, cool.
That's right, there's 2 other people.
That's what you get for not coming.
Work on the ordinance.
Even though they're always here and it's not actually
There, thou
posted.
show them one time.
It's
This
just
one
funny.
day.
Okay, so, I make a motion that, the working group for the Sustainability Commission ordinance update comprises myself, Commissioner Conkle, and Commissioner Spurlock.
Second.
All in, okay,
And I'm in favor of that too.
let's vote on that. All in
Yay.
favor, say aye. Aye.
And if we have,
Commissioner Carlson, this has to be unanimous.
oh, vote.
Say again.
Yes.
All
Say
in
yes.
favor of, myself and Commissioner, Conkle and Commissioner Skurlock forming the working group to update the Sustainability Commission ordinance. We're voting on it. Aye.
He's got his little hand
Oh,
in the air.
that's cute. Okay. He raised his hand.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, well, great.
So if we have opinions about it, we can just send them to her and she can do it.
I'm glad we didn't table that.
The ordinance,
Next month, let's have everybody talk about the retreat. We'll table talking about
Okay.
a retreat.
Yeah,
And I'll just say that I support that idea.
Yeah, I guess
Retreat
really
for that.
quickly,
Yes, a commission retreat to talk about, to devote several hours to talking about what matters and what we want to focus on.
Yeah.
In addition to the neighborhood sustainability grants over the year, because it, we've been trying to talk about this survey for what we want to talk about for,
Yeah.
so having a retreat and some time to meaningfully discuss what's important for the commission to work on.
That sounds like it's part of the ordinance, though, don't you think?
and the goal is to bring the ordinance to vote on at that,
Okay.
and like approve to bring to council or city
I
manager.
was saying, we get to make our own ordinance or that has to.
No,
go
it's gotta be
legal?
approved.
It has to
Oh, no, I gotta go
Oh,
to
yeah.
that. Yeah,
Legal
it's,
review, yeah.
and because it's an ordinance, there's 2 public readings. It takes a month to get passed at the council.
We got hope or something.
Yeah.
So
that's
June,
what-
yeah. June 26th, regular commission meeting date is what we're looking at for the retreat. It's maybe at our office with good food,
June 26th.
maybe a little earlier if people can make it, and a little longer, something like that, so.
I might not be able to do that. I have a
Are
northern.
we talking about the next meeting?
I have a northern.
And that brings us to, so let's just say that it's possible we'll have a retreat in June. That's our last official agenda item, but to and from, we need to check and see like summer schedules. I know I'm traveling. I'm gonna be gone and unavailable to attend over Zoom for the commission meeting in May.
Yeah.
Do we have enough commissioners available for a quorum in May?
I'll be here.
What day is it? 26?
Pretty close to.
Is Memorial Day the Monday after?
Maybe before.
Oh, it is. It's after. No, it's the Monday before, right? Yeah.
Well, no, we're the third Thursday,
No.
so usually the
No, it was
last Monday.
Thursday.
Fourth.
24th Thursday?
Yeah, it's Memorial Day is after the commission meeting.
Okay.
The commission meeting is May 22nd.
I'll be here.
Technically move it to the 4th if you wanted to, like, or like the 5th Thursday. Yeah. Anyways, okay. More people are here.
Well, we can talk about it for next year, doing
Oh,
it on the third. Thursday.
Commissioner Carlson says he should be, so that's 4.
Okay.
And
So
so, and
probably have a. Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any additional to and from items to share? Quickly. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Gave us a cute card too.
Aw. No more? Okay. All right. Well then, meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.